Fashion in the 1920s. Fashion in the 1920s, like many other things, was extremely different than it is now. The different cuts, colors, and accessories have a big role to play in history and have a way of showing what the times of the 1920s were like. The look. The look for women was short hair, slim figure, colorful dress cut at the shins, hat or headpiece of some sort, makeup, jewelry, and short 1-inch heels. For men, the look was a hat, a suit and tie, and formal dark-colored shoes. The fabrics for upper class were fabrics such as silk, velvet, and chiffon, and for the lower class was cotton, synthetic fabrics, and wool. The Jazz Era. The 1920s were known to some as the Jazz Era, and it's very easy to see that just by looking at what people wore. When you think of women dancing to jazz, you picture the short bobbed haircut, a shoulder-cut dress with frills on the bottom, and finished with a short 1-inch heel. This jazz-inspired look was all the rage for almost everyday wear. How times have changed. The fashion norm was much more fancy and formal than it is now. Women dressed up with accessories such as hats, jewels, makeup, and heels on a much regular basis, while men wore suits much more often. Fashion is now subdued in some ways, and there is a lot more differentiality in what people wore. It's not just women wear dresses and men wear suits. Sexism. It's no secret that in the past, sexism was a much bigger issue, and you can see it even through fashion. Women were bound to wear dresses and make themselves look extremely feminine. Men wanted their wives to look pretty and stay at home to cook and raise their children. As well, men had to dress extremely masculine. The movement of women. The 1920s were right around the time of the war ending, when all the men came back and wanted their jobs back, ultimately making women stop working again. Women were not happy about this and started a sort of rebellion. The 20s were the start of a new era for women, where they partied, had fun, drank, smoked, and didn't care as much. This is a part of how the partying jazz era came to be, and was also a big step for women in history. Famous fashion designer of the 1920s. Coco Chanel, also known as Gabrielle Bonnard Chanel, was one of the most well-known fashion designers and often called the fashion queen of the 1920s. She began the designing of looser clothing for women as well as the flapper look. Her style inspired the people of America and made it into theater and Hollywood films. Chanel is still a huge designer brand nowadays.